Let's move on to the next section of our Advanced Excel 2016 training. Here we're going to concentrate on various important Excel tools. The first Excel tool that we're going to learn is text to columns. This can be used at places where we have some kind of a data which is not in a proper format, and let's say we want to format it in a requisite shape, or you want them in particular columns. It can be done using text to columns. Let's look at this example over here, which is giving us the city, state and zip. The three information such as the city, state and zip is given on this one cell. This is basically the city, this is the state, and this is the zip code. And something which is coming after the hyphen is basically some junk data. Since I have taken this data from somewhere and I can't do Excel related activities on this kind of cell information, what I want to do is I want to separate these three data, city, state and zip, into three different columns. In order to do that, we have this Excel tool text to column, which will help us doing this very easily. There's one more thing which I need to tell you over here is whenever you're using text to column, you are usually going to move towards the right hand side. For example, if I'm separating city, it's going to appear here first on the right hand side, then the state, then the zip. Since this sales data is important to me, I don't want that it should get disturbed or overwritten by any chance. So I'll just add a column over here, and I would like to place my data over here so that it shouldn't get affected at all. Okay, so let's now start using the text to column. The first thing that we're going to separate is the city. The city is the first thing you notice in this cell, which is right before a comma. If you notice all the cells, the information that is provided before the comma is the city. That is what I want to separate from this entire information that is given over here. Okay, so whatever you want to, or the data that you want to work upon, needs to be selected. So kindly select the column, go to the data tab, and here we have the options of text to column. As soon as you open this wizard, we have the option choose the file type that best describes your data. Whether you want to separate the data using delimited or a fixed width. I'll tell you what these both are. In case if you are choosing delimited, you can separate it using characters such as commas or any other characters. But in case if you're choosing fixed width, here the fields are aligned in columns with spaces between each field, and you can determine where you want to separate it. Let's try it with fixed width if you can do that. Click on next. This is basically the width, overall width of the cell. And if we try separating our data with this, what you need to do is you need to set a marker in between the information. Let's say this is the city. If I set the marker over here, as of now I can see that all the cities are there, but no, over here now the city and state have mixed up. If I try to move the marker also, I won't be able to work around because the city names are not of equal size, right? Otherwise I could have easily used this marker. With this marker, if I click on next, my data gets divided right here. So this is kind of not happening with this data we have. So let's move back and choose the delimited width option. If you choose delimited, as I told you, you can use these delimiters such as tab, semicolon, comma, space, or any other that you want to mention. Since I want it to be a comma, right? Our data is separated with the commas. So if I choose comma, you will now be able to see that our data is correctly separated now. Everything before the comma is the city, which got separated. So this is not a problem now. This looks fine. Click on next. You can see all the city names are highlighted, and what you need to do is click on finish. It says there's already data here. Do you want to replace it? You can say okay in case there's no problem, but if you have any data which you don't want to get replaced or you want to save it somewhere, please do that, right? So click on OK, and now you'll be able to see that the cities are clearly visible over here. Okay, so let's rename this and keep it only as city. Now we need to separate the state and the zip code. Let's now work around the state. State is basically the two first characters or the two first letters that you see in the cell information we have. So basically this is the state information. This is our zip, which will keep it in another column, and this is some junk data which we don't want. We'll see about that later, but as of now, let's now separate the state. So select this column, go to text to columns, and we can use delimited, but I think delimited again is not going to work better over here. So let's go in for fixed width, and let's place the marker right here. Since we want only the first two characters, we can see only the first two characters are now selected. You can scroll through and check. This looks fine. Click on next and click on finish. You can say OK. And you can see the first two letters, which is basically the state, is now separated. Okay, so this is fine. The city is in place, the state is in place. Now what we want is the zip code. As I told you, the zip code is right before this hyphen or the dash, right? This after hyphen or dash is basically some junk data which we don't want. So we want to separate this zip code from the junk data. Again, we need to select the data, the column. Click on text to columns. Can we use fixed width? No, it will be difficult because the numbers, the zip code may not be of the same size. So let's keep it delimited. And it is not separated by any of these, so we'll keep other. And in other, we're going to put the dash. So as soon as you put the dash, all the data is now correctly separated right before the dash and right after the dash. So once this looks fine, we can click on next and click on finish. You can say OK, and this data that you have over here is your zip. Since I don't want this data, I can remove this. So I'm just removing this entire column. And now what I have is perfect. City, state and zip, which has been separated into different columns using text to column features. Okay, so this was an important Excel tool which we need to learn. Let's now move on to the next video.